You can draw this in Procreate. During this super easy to follow tutorial, I will guide you through the steps of drawing this cute zombie character. You don't need any experience with drawing or with Procreate. I'm sure you can do this and that you'll end up with a really fun character. The canvas we're working on is 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. And of course, I have left a free color palette for you to download down in the description. So if you're ready, let's get started. We'll start out by creating a simple sketch of our little zombie. To sketch, I would like to use the 6B pencil, which you can find in the sketching section. And for the color, we'll just use black. Now I have the opacity set to 100% and the size at 30. And then we'll start with a rounded shape for the head. It's a little bit squished at the bottom. Also at the top. So a rounded shape like this, and it has these big cartoony ears and very big eyes. You can make a circle here. You can hold your pen in place and then tap your finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. And then we'll make this one a little bit smaller just to make it extra wonky. For the mouth, we'll make like a semicircle like this, and then the bottom will be more flat. Then for the body, we'll make a line like this and this. This is like its chest. You can close it here at the bottom, and then we'll make a simple shorts. So a little line like this for its crotch. And then two legs, two lines going down, and then a big rounded shape like this. So big semicircle, and then close it like this at the bottom for its shoes. Then a line over here for a t-shirt. So a little curve and then connected to the body, and then simple arms like this. So this is the base. Feel free to take a screenshot of this so you can use that as a reference. And now we are going to add more to this, like pupils, for instance. You can also have different sizes for those. And let's add some hair. Just make these rounded shapes. Then here, this is like the left side, and then here we'll go to the right side in this direction. Making these rounded shapes until you are here at the right ear. And then at the front, you can make a shape like this. And maybe some hair moving like this. Let's also add simple eyebrows. Just like these sausage shapes. Now let's zoom in a little bit. We can add some lines underneath the eyes so that they are like sagging. And here as well, just an extra curve. Giving him a little zombie feature. Then let's add teeth to its mouth. I want it to look a little bit like dorky. So just these teeth and then a little tongue. We can add this collar here of its t-shirt. And we can add a shape to the ear. Let's make a curve like this. And then an extra curve inward. Just a simple cartoony eye. So curve like this, and then a little curve like this. And then let's add some extra to the shoe. We can make lines like this, broader than the leg, and then a little bit of a wiggly line connecting these. So two lines like this, and then connect them. And we can add an extra line here for like the sole of the shoe. And we can also add like little zigzaggy lines at the bottom of its short. And for the t-shirt as well, maybe there is a hole in its shirt over here. And maybe the bottom part is also a bit irregular. And you can add pockets to its pants. And let's make this one a little bit zigzaggy. And let's just create very simple fingers like this. Just a few lines. We can also add a wound to its forehead. Just it's a bit like Harry Potter, I guess. It has it's almost like a lightning bolt. And maybe he was bitten in his face. So we'll have a big hole here. And we could also add a bite mark to its ear. Maybe there's part of its ear is missing. Now let's also add a little chin line, just a small semicircle like this. And you can add as many wounds and damages as you like. And then once you're happy with your sketch, again, you can make a screenshot here, of course. You can lower the opacity by tapping the N, slide to around 30%, and then tap the plus for a new layer on top. And on this layer, we are going to create the line art. And for the line art, I'd like to go to the inking brushes and use the studio pen. And for the color, we'll use this one over here. That's the 7th color in the first row. Now the opacity of this brush is at 100%. I have the size set to 10%. And with this brush, the harder you press, the thicker your line will become. At least that's the case if you are using a pencil like the Apple Pencil, which has pressure sensitivity. So that way you can play around with your line thickness a little bit. Now let's start by outlining the face. And it can be handy to rotate your canvas. Gives you a bit more control. Sometimes it can be easier to make a curve like this than like this. Then let's go for the ear. Here we have that bite. Using a little pressure here, making a delicate line. Then that curve for the ear. And then we have the hair. And don't worry if you don't get the line in one go. I'd say long live the undo option. Then for this ear, little curve. And then we'll continue with this part of the hair. And then connect it here. And you can make some lines a little bit more heavy, especially like at the undersides. For instance, underneath the face, make that a bit more heavy. Then we'll add, well, it'll add interest to the illustration, playing around with that line thickness. Just following the lines, varying the pressure. And for these holes, I'll use little pressure. And of course, you could also just play around with the size of your brush. Perhaps if you're a bit heavy-handed, it can be hard to change that thickness with your pressure. Then this leg. Those pockets. Simple fingers. And then those shoes. It's all very cartoony. Little extra line. And then for the face, let's start with the mouth. Then go around those teeth. Create that tongue. And then here we can actually drag in the color. Oh, I see, I undid this line. Let's go over there again. Then we have that little chin, using little pressure there. The eyebrows. And for that wound, I'm going to use very little pressure. Making that more delicate. And for this one as well. Then for the eyes, I'd like to switch my brush before I draw those. Let's go to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush, since that doesn't have pressure sensitivity. Otherwise, if you create a circle, it might end up like not very even. Now let's set the opacity of the brush to 100% and the size to 10. And then I'll just follow our sketch, draw a circle, hold your pen in place, and then tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. And then here as well, hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen, and then let go. And then we can switch back to our studio pen. Let's draw these pupils and then those saggy parts. I'll rotate the screen, the canvas a bit again, just to make that easier. And I'm using a little pressure. And then we can add some extra lines. That's nice. And then on this side, we'll do the same. Something like this. You could make the underside a little bit thicker. Just when you vary the line weight in your illustration, try to go for all the undersides, for example, all the places where there would be a bit more shadow or where something is like in touch with the underground. You can make those a little bit thicker, like here, the underside of the shirt, and that'll give a nice look. So don't go making all of the lines heavy, because then you will lose the effect. Could make this one a little bit thicker for the hair. So just some undersides. I hope you're having fun creating your own little zombie so far. Now, if you want to follow even more Procreate tutorials, like 250 more, including this tutorial in which we draw a cute little witch, then come check out my Patreon page. It is perfect if you are starting to get a Procreate drawing addiction, or if you just want to get your skills to that next level. So I will just leave a link for you down in the description if you want to check it out, because it will be great to see you there. But now let's continue. All right, now we have our line art. We can turn off our sketch layer, and then let's tap our line art layer and set it to reference. Now we can make new layers underneath and use this line art layer as reference and drop the colors on separate layers. So let's go here first and tap the plus. And then, for instance, let's go for its skin color. That's this one, second color in the first row. And we can drop it on there. If your color still spills out all over, make sure that the entire line is closed, that there are no gaps, or perhaps you need to change your color drop threshold. If you drag in the color, you can go to the right or the left and change that threshold. And for the arms, and of course the legs, and its neck, and this little part here. Then let's make a layer for the hair. Let's tap the plus, and for the hair, let's use this color, fifth color in the first row. Let's drag it on there, and we can also use it for the eyebrows. Then let's make another layer. Here we can do the eyes. We'll pick this color, first color in the second row. And let's also put the teeth on here. We can use this color, fourth color in the third row. Let's use continue filling. You can just simply tap here. Now you can't see the teeth here because we don't have a background color yet. Let's go to background color here and use this color, this first one, as our background color. And then let's continue. Let's make a new layer. Let's tap the plus. And then let's color the wounds with this color, fourth color. Let's drag it in there. Let's see. Maybe, yeah, there we have it. Then you can use continue filling, fill these areas. Then we'll switch the color to this one, sixth color in the second row, and use that for the eyes here. Then we'll make another layer, tap the plus. Let's use this one for the pants. We can use this color, second color in the third row. Drag it on there, use continue filling, and fill these areas as well. Then a layer for the shoes. Let's tap the plus. And then let's use this color, sixth color in the third row. And use continue filling. And then let's make a layer for the t-shirt. Let's tap the plus, then pick this color, sixth color in the second row, drag it on there, use continue filling, and fill these areas as well. And then let's tap the little check mark. So now we have all our flat colors. Now we are going to bring our zombie to life with shadow and lighting. Let's start with the face. Let's go to this layer. And also, before we continue, let's turn off reference here. just in case you want to fill a shape. You don't want it to follow these lines anymore. If you create a shape on top here and want to fill it, you just want to make it follow the shape that you have created. So let's tap the plus and then let's set this new layer to clipping mask so that whatever we draw, it'll only show up on the skin. And then for the color, we'll use this one, a third color in the first row. And we are going to use that to create some shadow. Let's make the brush a bit bigger, 30%. We'll go along the edge of the hair and along the face and along the bottom part. Let's either rotate or rotate yourself, and let's add a little shadow underneath the eye and also on top. You could also hold your pen in place to make a nice rounded shape. And also some shadow on the ear. And here as well. And you can also add a few irregularities, some dots. It looks a bit sickly. So that'll add a nice extra touch. Then let's also add shadows along the arm and here on the inside of its shirt, or its neck, and on its legs. And then let's go darker. Let's pick this fourth color, and we can use that for even darker shadows. Just along the edge, make it a little bit darker. And along its face here, and in the ear, a little bit over here, and for its neck we can make that darker, and perhaps a little bit along the arm. I think this works nicely. Then let's also add some light. Let's pick this color, fourth color in the third row. And let's make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for like 15%. Now let's make a little light edge here, a little highlight. You can also do that on the ear and the underside of the mouth. And we can also do this on this side of this arm. So I'm imagining the light is coming from this direction. All right, then let's move to the eyes first. Let's tap the plus for a new layer on top, set that new layer to clipping mask, and then let's use this color, second color in the second row, and let's create a curve like this. You can hold your pen in place again. You could also use edit to edit it a little bit. Go for something like this. And then go back to the brush, color this in, and then do the same over here. Now we also need some light here, so we can pick this fourth color again in the third row, add a little light edge on its eyeball, and a little shiny light. So a little edge and a highlight. And then let's also add a little bit of shadow to the teeth. We can pick this color, fifth color in the third row. It's very subtle, but you can add a little line on the right side. Then we'll move to this layer. Let's tap the plus, set the new layer to clipping mask, and then let's pick this color, fifth color in the second row. We can use that to add a little bit of shadow, a little wigglies in that wound, a little bit of texture. So a little line along this edge, and then some wigglies to make this look like flesh. Then we'll switch to this color, seventh color in the second row, for a little bit of shadow on its saggy eye. Here as well. Looking great, zombie guy. Then we'll move to the pants. Let's tap the plus, set the new layer to clipping mask, and we'll start with this color, third color in the third row, to add some shadow, like underneath the shirt and at the bottom of its pants, and here on the right side. And we can also add some light touches with this first color in the third row. We can add a little highlight here, and also some little marks, adding some very slight texture. Now we'll move to the shoes, tap the plus again, set the new layer to clipping mask. Now the reason I'm using clipping mask and not alpha lock is because I like being able to use the eraser on that clipping mask layer instead of having to pick like the base color. If I would be painting on here with alpha lock turned on and I want to remove a part of the shadow, I would have to use the base color. It can be, well, it can get a little bit messy. So I like clipping mask. Then let's pick, let's see, this color first, seventh color in the third row. We'll add some shadow. Curving along the shoe and along the bottom. Now let's add shadow to this part of the shoe, and then let's add a little highlight with this color, fifth color in the third row. And let's add a highlight to the left side. Then we'll move on to the shirt. Again, tap the plus, set the new layer to clipping mask, and then we'll use this color. Let's add shadow here at the top and here on the right side and along the bottom a little bit. And we can add some marks. Maybe it's like dirt marks. Maybe a little shadow here. And then a little highlight with this color, fourth color in the third row. Little edge here and here. Now we just need to work on the hair. Let's go to this layer, tap the plus, set that layer to clipping mask. And then let's pick this color, sixth color in the first row. And then let's first add darker touches. Let's make the brush a bit bigger again, 25%. Let's make dark shadow here underneath these parts of the hair. So we'll mainly go over that lower part. You can also make some shapes, like some hair shapes. So darkening that entire underside. You can also darken the bottom of the eyebrows. And add some dark touches here. And then let's use this lighter color, fourth color in the first row, to add some slight highlights along these curves. Also here. Gives it a bit of like hair texture. And we can also add a little highlight to the eyebrows. So it adds shape to the hair in a very simple way. Now for the final part, I'd like to add a sticker effect to my zombie. And to do that, I'm going to show you a trick. Let's turn off the background color layer here. Now let's go to the top here. And then let's slide down with 3 fingers and use copy all. Then slide down with 3 fingers again and use paste. Now at the top you have a layer with your entire illustration. Now let's turn the background color on again. And now we are going to drag this layer all the way to the bottom. Then let's pick this color, 4th color in the 3rd row. And we'll go back to this layer, tap it, turn on alpha lock, and tap it again and use fill layer. Now it's just the silhouette. And now we are going to blur this layer. So we'll go to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur, and slide to the right until you get this little glow around your zombie. I think something like this should be enough, 13%. Then we'll go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, set it to automatic, and then tap your zombie. And then it'll select the blurred layer. And you can slide with your pen to make that selection grow. Just make it grow a little bit. Let's go for like 86%. Might be different for you. Then we'll go to the layer menu, tap the plus for a new layer, tap that new layer, and then use fill layer again. You can turn this one off. And now we have a nice white edge around our zombie. For the final touch, I'd also like to add a shadow. So let's duplicate this layer, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, then pick this color. That's the 7th color in the 3rd row. Drag it on there. Then go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to maybe 10%. Let's see. And then go to the move and transform tool. Let me turn magnetics off here. And then drag your layer down and to the right a little bit. Then tap the arrow again to get out of here. I think we could make our shadow even a little bit darker. Very easy way to do that is by going to the magic wand, then to use saturation brightness and turn down the brightness. You can just play around with this. Let's go for 43% and then tap the magic wand again. And there you have your cute little zombie. I hope you had fun and I hope to see you next time for the next tutorial. Thank you for watching.